Hi, I'm the Mythology Guy, and I just saw Loki Season 2, binged the whole thing, and I'm wearing my, little Norse Viking outfit here, represent the Norse stuff. Unlike this show, which has nothing to do with Norse mythology at all, there's almost no reason at all for it to be Loki as the main character in this show. The only reason for it to be Loki is because we love Tom Hiddleston and he's very entertaining. But oh god, I thought the first season of this show didn't tie in much to Loki's Norse roots. This season has nothing to do with it at all. Really just nothing to do with it. It's all just a time travel sci-fi plot. So, if you're coming into this show hoping, ooh, yeah, I'm gonna learn more about Loki and, his backstory and, his, roots to the other Norse characters, nope, don't expect that. Don't expect that for a second. You're going into just a sci-fi time travel show, and that's all you're getting. And, the thing is, I don't really get into time travel stories that much. It's always the same shit. It's always the same, oh, go back and go back again, and you mess this up and go back and unmess that up, and the time is caving in on itself, and, all this crap that I'm so sick and tired of. I actually thought Avengers Endgame handled time travel really well by just saying, look, you can't change the past, okay? Because when you go into the past now becomes your present, so obviously you cannot change it anymore. And I was like, that's actually a really interesting way of doing it that I haven't really seen a lot of people do. And yeah, if you change something, you just create a new timeline, but your timeline is completely unaffected. Well, this show took those rules and threw them in the trash. I mean, they still have new timelines, but apparently you can change the current timeline, because Loki does it 20 times. He changes what they call the sacred timeline, which is our main timeline, a whole bunch of times. He does it constantly throughout this show, and the whole time I'm just sitting there thinking, what about what you said in Endgame? You said you couldn't change the main timeline, but I guess you can. And some of you guys are thinking, well, what are you talking about? They never said he changed the main timeline. Yes, he does. He does. Every time it changes, they still refer to it as the sacred timeline. And there's literally a scene where he goes back in time and talks to a guy, and then that guy in the present is remembering that conversation suddenly in real time. So yes, he is changing the main timeline. They have broken their own Marvel Cinematic Universe rules. In the very first episode, they break it all. And they break it constantly throughout the show. And, oh my god. Look, I have mixed feelings about the show. I did have fun at times watching it. I did enjoy parts of it, but I don't think this was great or anything. And, I should probably tell you, I didn't like season 1 as much as everybody else did. I had fun with it and all, but everyone was like, oh, this is the gold standard. This is the 10 out of 10 Marvel show. I was like, really? Why? I don't know. Maybe it's just my, negative bias towards time travel stuff, but, and my desire for more mythical Loki stuff. But, even with all of that aside, I thought it was an okay show. I never thought it was 10 out of 10 stuff. Some of you are going to get mad at me for saying this, but I actually liked Falcon and Winter Soldier more than Loki season 1. Except for that stupid ending where they're like, okay, what are we doing? He says, you gotta be better. Great advice there. But, yeah, I have some notes here. That's why I keep looking down. So people loved the first episode of this season. I saw so many people saying, hey, it started out great and then it got worse, or God, the first episode is a perfect introduction, a fantastic debut, way to go, it's so good. I didn't like the first episode. I actually hated the first episode. I really hated it. It's and let me tell you why. First of all, they bring in this actor I really love. If you saw my American-Born Chinese video, I really love this actor, even though I constantly forget his name, and I feel bad about it. But this Asian actor who was Short Round in Indiana Jones, and he was also in Goonies, and then he stopped acting for a while because he couldn't get, no one was giving him respectable roles, but now he's back, and I'm really glad he's back because I really like him. So he plays Ouroboros. And he has nothing to do with the term Ouroboros. Like, Ouroboros is actually, like, the snake eating its own tail. That actually has roots in Norse mythology. And I thought, oh, great, we're going to go into that. But, all it really equates to is a single cute scene in a later episode, which I did like that scene, but I was like, that's the whole reason you're calling him Ouroboros? Okay, he has nothing else to do with it. But, it was a cute scene, and I did like it, and I'll talk about it in a bit. But, God, I guess I'm about to get into spoilers. It's season 2. Let's just talk about spoilers. So, yeah, they introduce Ouroboros, and yeah, again, actor I love, but God, this whole episode was so much science fiction mumbo-jumbo, and by the way, do not take a shot every time they say time or TVA in this show, you will die. Like, literally, like, they're like, hey, Loki, it looks like you're time slipping. Now, your time slipping can be solved if we get, like, if we prune you with a pruning staff, but only at a certain time. We have to line it up with your time. Look, I don't remember it all, so I'm just going to say what I think was going on. We have to line it up with your time essence thing. When it hits a certain point, you have to hit with the pruning staff, but if you don't hit with the pruning staff properly, then your time slipping is going to malfunction and you're going to, like, get screwed up. And they're like, okay, you got to do all this with the time thing, but you know what else is going on? The time loom is falling apart because there's too many raw times going into the time loom and becoming timeline, and now the timeline is branching, and we can't destroy the branching timeline, so we have to get a time thing, conductor machine thing, and then we have to take that into the time loom time path and push it towards the time thing, and you have to get in the time suit and move the time thing into the time to... And I just, like, at one point I just screamed, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Wilda was next to me, she was laughing her ass off as I was screaming at the TV, like, what are you talking about? Shut up! Like, you can't just throw all this shit at me in the first episode. I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what's going on. I have no idea what's happening anymore. God. And then, yeah, during this big climax of the first episode where I'm supposed to care so much, like they're playing dramatic music, inserting stuff, and Loki's looking at his clock thing, and I'm sitting there going, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what you're trying to fix. I don't know how you're supposed to fix it. Like, I have no idea. I couldn't follow it. I just feel so stupid watching this first episode. And so I didn't get into it. I was not enjoying it. And then after the credits go by, I'm like, okay, is there an after credit scene? I sit through like several minutes of credits. God, these Marvel shows have such long credit sequences. I have no idea why. And then we finally get to an after credit scene. I'm like, okay, this ought to be interesting. And it's Sylvie, and I'm like, okay. Sylvie goes to McDonald's. That's the after credit scene. Like, it's just product placement after credit scene. And I was just like, oh, screw you. You made me wait through the credits so you could have your stupid product placement. Go to hell. I got kind of mad. But, yeah, so I was not having a strong start with this series. And then in episode 2, I was like, all right, like, hopefully if we get out of the TVA and everyone stops saying TVA, 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 like, I can enjoy this show more. But it gets so weird. So this episode 2 opens in a way that I was like, wait, did I miss a scene? Because, like, so the TVA sends all these agents after Sylvie, and then, but one of them is suddenly an actor down on Earth, and we get no, like, he just suddenly is one. And it just came out of nowhere, and they're chasing after him. I'm like, why are we, what? What's happening? But during the scene, it was kind of fun, because Loki finally starts using his powers, he starts using his trickery, and that's what I want in this show. I want to see Loki using his powers and his mischief. That's something this show desperately needed more of, and when we do get it, I like it. And I liked that scene. I was like, okay, we're back on track, we're having a good time. And then they take him back to the TVA, and I went, no more TVA. But they take him there and they have this interrogation scene that's so drawn out and goes on for way too long. Like, you know, the dude gives a whole, like, speech to Loki that goes nowhere, and then Loki gives a whole speech to the guy that goes nowhere, and then the guy gives a whole speech to Mobius that goes nowhere, and then finally they just, like, pretend like they're gonna torture him and they get the info out of him. Like, you could have just started with that. Like, we didn't need all these other stupid scenes to pad the runtime. I'm sorry, it's just, I wasn't enjoying it very much. If you did, good for you. I did not. Such a drawn-out interrogation scene. And then after the interrogation scene, it becomes product placement, the episode, because they go hang out in McDonald's, and they talk about how great McDonald's is, and, like, yeah, like, literally Mobius is buying McDonald's food and saying, hey, isn't this great? Like, we're having a good meal here at McDonald's. I'm like, I don't know what kind of McDonald's you guys hang out at. I've been to McDonald's, it ain't all that great. But I guess this is the older version of McDonald's back when they actually tried, so maybe it has something to do with that. Oh, God. And then there's this big twist where it turns out... Look, I'm not going to go through every single detail of the episodes. I'm just going to talk about what I want to talk about. There's this big twist where it turns out like this... some of the TVA people are just blowing up all of the alternate timelines, which they were already doing in season 1, so it's not... I don't see why that's a huge deal now. I guess because some of the characters suddenly care about these branching timelines. But, like, they're blowing up all the timelines. Literally, like, billions and billions of, like, alternate timeline people are dying. And I feel nothing when it happens. And I feel nothing because they don't show any of these timelines. Like, I don't know about the timelines. I don't know about the people in them. All I see is a TV screen where you see just these little veins on a chart start disappearing. And, like, it's all dramatic. Like, you're supposed to be like, oh, I can't believe they would do that. And I'm just sitting here like, I don't care. That's just a chart. And yeah, they literally they go like, those are people. Those are people dying. And I'm like, okay, thanks for telling me that. I don't know, maybe it's just too much multiverse stuff lately, where whole universes get destroyed, and I'm just like, I've seen it so many times in that crappy, you know, DC show, Crisis on Infinite Earths, and also in Marvel's What If, and also in, you know, Across the Spider-Verse, and, you know, I just keep seeing all these multiversal threats, and I'm kind of getting tired of it. And, you know, also in the Flash movie, it's just over and over and over and over again. And, you know, if you want me to still feel something for these multiverses, you have to at least show me some of them. Show me people getting blown up. Show the scene from Terminator 2. Okay, you're not going to show that. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like, I have to at least know something about these alternate universes if I'm going to care when they get destroyed. I mean, these other multiverse shows and movies at least knew that, but this shows you nothing of it. So I feel nothing when, like, this is like the biggest loss of life in the entire MCU, and I don't care for a second. Like, I remember how much I cared in Infinity War when half the universe got snapped away, but in this, I don't care. So I think that's a bit of a failure there. I mean, did you care when it happened? Did you? I don't know. And, you know, it also, like, just brings me to a problem with Sylvie, and I'm just going to be honest with you. So the Sylvie character, if anyone doesn't know, Sylvie is Loki, but in a branching timeline. She's an alternate version of Loki. And I remember when they said that in season 1, that they recruited Loki because the variant they were chasing was Loki. They were like, it's you. And I was like, oh, like, in the first episode of the first season, I was like, that's actually a really cool idea. So we're going to get Tom Hiddleston chasing after another Tom Hiddleston, but one who's, like, full-on evil Loki. Like, is this going to be, like, you know, the eviler Loki from the comics? Or is this going to be the dark Loki from Norse mythology? Or is this just going to be a like, new, weird, crazy take on Loki? Or he's just an evil, like, sociopath, and, you know, and MCU Loki is going to have to face his darker side, what he could have become, or what he could still become. Like, imagine all you can do with that topic, and nothing is done with it, because when he encounters the alternate version of himself, it's just Sylvie, who, I'm going to be completely honest with you, has no reason at all to be a variant of Loki. There's no reason at all in the entire show for her to be called a variant of Loki. She looks nothing like Loki. She's not even the same gender as Loki. She acts nothing like Loki. Her personality is nothing like Loki's. She doesn't even have like a sense of humor or anything at all. She doesn't even have the same name. She doesn't call herself Loki. She's Sylvie. So why the fuck is she a variant of Loki? Because she has sorcery? She doesn't even have the same sorcery. She does different kinds of stuff. Like, there are multiple... Doctor Strange has sorcery. Does that mean he's a variant of Loki? She has nothing to do with him. It's like, yeah, I guess she grew up in Asgard, but so did, like, 20 other Norse gods. Who cares? You didn't have to make her a variant of Loki. It added nothing to the story. It did nothing for any of the characters, and it just makes their whole, will they, won't they love story all the more weird and uncomfortable, which I guess is something that's good to get in a Loki show, weird and uncomfortable shit, because, anyone who knows about mythical Loki, but I don't think that's intentional. Even if it is, it's like, well, okay, can you give us some actual mythical stuff instead of just having Loki want to bang himself? That's just... I don't care about that. I don't care about that. And Sylvie as a character, it's not the actress's fault, I'm sure, but, like, I don't like the way she's written. She's just so... she's really dumb. She's just constantly negative all the time. Always just complaining and angry. Just complaining and angry in every scene she has. Just constant complaining and anger and, like, joy killing and just, like, not listening to anybody. Not even when all the universes are at stake. He's like, I don't care. I want to kill the He Who Remains guy. Like, over and over and over again. Not listening to anybody. Like, when Loki's trying to convince her of stuff, and he's like, hey, just, read my mind and you'll see it. She's like, nah, I don't care. I don't care about the context of what's going on. And so it makes her character really annoying. I don't like Sylvie in this show at all. I have no interest in her. I have no investment in her. There's a spoiler alert. There's a part near the end where they're like, okay, Loki, you can either let the universes be destroyed or kill Sylvie. What will the choice be? I'm like, kill her! Kill her! I don't care! It's ridiculous. I've crapped on this show a lot. Let me say a couple of good things about it before I continue crapping on it. I like Loki and Mobius's dynamic. They did, like, the way they talk to each other and complain at each other sometimes, like when they're, like, arguing about something, like, oh, this has got to be you. No, it's not me. Like, I got this. I don't know how to explain it exactly, but they do have some legitimately funny moments sometimes. And it's because, the way they talk to each other feels like an actual, like, the way you would talk to a friend or like a partner in business or something. Like, it's like, yes, they have their complaining moments, but they also have their fun moments and they have their little bonding moments, like Loki talking about, hey, look, it's okay to lose it sometimes, Mobius. You remember when I tossed Iron Man out of a building? Like, we all lose it sometimes. I'm like, that's funny. That's nice little moments like that. I like that. Like, that's fun. Another character people are pretty divided on this character, but I have fun with this character, is Miss Minutes, the little CGI clock that Tara Strong voices. I kind of like how delightfully evil she is. Like, she's really messed up. Like, the scene where she's, like, in love with her creator, He Who Remains. I was like, oh, this is messed up, and I kind of like it. I like that messed up because it feels a lot darker and more like, ooh, like insane. And again, that's something I would like in a Loki show, when it's done well. And also, like, later on, when literally a whole room of people are being massacred, you look at Miss Minutes and she's like, and I'm like, Jesus. See, that's a decent villain right there. But she doesn't really do enough throughout the show. All right, what else do we got? Oh, yeah. I don't know if this is a product of the writer's strike or something, but there's a lot of times where characters talk to each other in ways no human would talk. Like, characters literally look at each other and constantly spout exposition, constantly remind what each other's motivations are, or constantly, like, go into their deep, like, psyches when they talk about themselves. Like, they're just like, hey, Ravana, don't kill that man. And Ravana's like, What do you mean, don't kill that man? Now I'm going to go off on a whole tangent about how I've been doing everything for the TVA and what it's done to me mentally, and you're all just going to stand there while I do it, and it's like, okay, I don't think people talk like this. I don't know. It just feels a little weird. One scene I actually really liked was when Loki and Mobius are at the World's Fair and he sees this little Norse culture area. I was like, oh yeah, go in there. They never go in there. Pissed me off. But they see this Norse culture area, and there's statues of Odin, Thor, and Balder. Even though Balder's dressed like Heimdall, it seems, for some reason. I don't know what's going on with that. And yeah, Loki's like, why do they have Balder there? No one knows about Balder. And I was like, hey, little reference to the myth. I like that. And then afterwards, Loki goes, Thor's not that tall. And he walks away. I'm like, yes, this is the stuff I want more of. But all I get is like one little scene of it. And yeah, the Ouroboros scene where it turns out that OB and Mr. Timely both inspired each other throughout time. Like, one wouldn't have written their book without the other writing their book. And it's cute to see them fan over each other. I was like, oh, that's nice. That's cute. That's wholesome. And also, like, they pointed out, wait, so one of you couldn't have existed without the other. That's an endless cycle. I'm like, yeah, there's the Ouroboros thing. Okay, fine. But I wish the character had more to do with Ouroboros itself. Like, I feel like you planted a seed, you did one thing with it, and then you didn't do anything with it after that, and it's too bad. When Mr. Timely is a variant of He Who Remains, is giving his presentation. I know it's kind of a speech quirk I guess he has, but God, he was talking so slowly, like throughout his entire presentation. He was like, this is a machine, and I will use this machine to create power. And I'm like, oh. And he doesn't talk nearly the... Here's the thing, he's not like that for the rest of the show. He's a little like that, but not nearly that much. It's like, did you have to... Like, throughout that whole scene, I was like, It's like, I know there are people with speech impediments, but A, he's not like that for the rest of the thing, and B, it's not like the actor has that as a problem. So, like, if it was an actor thing, I'd be like, okay, yeah, no problem there. But, like, it's not, and also he's not like that consistently throughout the show, I think because they know it would be insanely annoying to have him like that throughout the show, so yes, it's annoying in that scene, I thought. Talked about that already. Oh no, that's actually something that was explained later. Okay. Oh, yeah, and then towards the end, there actually is an episode I like. It's what I call the Groundhog Day episode, where Loki gets control of his time slipping. I like that. And there's a scene where, like, the loom of time gets destroyed and everything starts getting destroyed, and Loki keeps going back in time to stop it from happening. And he keeps, like, moving things along, doing a little better each time. There's literally a point where he has to spend centuries learning how to become a good engineer. And it's honestly funny and charming the way the scene is done. It feels like a nice, fast-moving scene. Part of the episode. I liked it a lot. I was invested there. The reason I was invested there, because at that point I was able to follow what was going on, and probably because it was repeated so many times for my dumb little brain. And you know, and then when it like, it looks like they finally did it, I was right there with Loki going, yes, you finally did it. But it was hopeless anyway, so it didn't matter. That was too bad. But then during, like, one of the final battles where Loki's trying to stop Sylvie in the past from killing He Who Remains, he keeps fighting with her. But here's the thing, if past Sylvie knew what modern Sylvie knew, she probably wouldn't want to kill He Who Remains, because she, in the present, was like, oh man, this whole thing was set up ever since He Who Remains died. This became fate. Like, and it seems like she regrets that she did it. So when he goes back in time to stop her from killing him, I'm thinking, just tell her to read your mind. Just tell her to read your mind. And look, maybe that wouldn't work, but he never even tries it. It's annoying because he tried it during a different point in the show, and she said no. I was like, okay, well, at least they addressed that. But they don't address it in the final battle. I'm like, dude, just tell her to read your damn mind. Just try, and I'm sure she'll stop. But he doesn't do that. So that's That's annoying. I did like, so at the very end, Loki becomes like Master of Time. He gets a new outfit. I like the new outfit. It looked more, Norse. And then all the timelines symbolize Yggdrasil. And I was like, okay, so that's like how you're showing, I'm guessing, the multiverse. Are multiple universes the same thing as multiple timelines? That's a question I still have about the current MCU. But I do like that it looked like Yggdrasil. That was a little cool. Yeah, but so here's my overall thoughts. At first I wasn't enjoying the show, but then when stuff started happening and I was able to like get into the plot, like with the Groundhog Day episode and with Miss Minutes being insane and stuff like that, I was able to enjoy it more. So it's just, I feel like I've been talking kind of fast throughout this, but it's because I knew I had a lot to say. Heck, we're at like the 25-minute mark about. So, yeah, like I did enjoy it more towards the end, but there's still a lot of it that I didn't enjoy all that much, and I really wish that this Loki show had been more of a Loki show, Loki from Norse mythology. Just give me some of it. I feel like we at least got a little of it in season 1, but we got like just of it in this one. Like, I just wish there had been more of it, but that's my personal taste. I don't know if that's fair to the show itself. But yeah, I see people on all sides. Some people are saying this show's a 10 out of 10, ton of fun, awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it that much. And some people are saying this is trash, garbage, and I'm like, I can see why you'd think that. Some people are saying it's woke garbage. I don't know where that comes from. Maybe just because there is this one scene where, like, Miss Minutes tells Ravonna, you know what, you actually led He Who Remains' army, and then he took credit for your work. The truth is, you never needed him. And I'm like, when I was watching that, I was like, are you doing that thing where, like, the man takes credit for the woman's work? Isn't that a little tired at this point? But, maybe that's why people think it's woke garbage, I guess. I didn't think that was, like, a consistent theme throughout the show, though, so I don't really think that's a very fair criticism. A lot of people don't like Sylvie. I don't either. I get it. But again, Tom Hiddleston is really entertaining. Owen Wilson is entertaining. I'm so sorry I always forget your name, but the dude who played Ouroboros was entertaining. And when he was in the first episode when he was talking so much science mumbo jumbo, it was too much for me. But in the other episodes, he was a charming character, and I liked him a lot. So, I don't really, it's hard to describe exactly what I recommend this show. I think you kind of have to watch it because it ties in so much to like the Kang stuff in the MCU. And I don't know. If you're not a big sci-fi person, I don't think you're going to enjoy this at all. If you are a huge sci-fi person, I think there's a lot more you'll be able to appreciate. I'm kind of in the middle, so I was kind of in the middle with this show. And, I really think that's about all I have to say. I don't know how to rate this on a scale of 1 to 10. Maybe I'll just give it a 5, because I'm in the middle. My thoughts of this show are in the middle, and 5 is in the middle. So I'm going to give it a 5. You can tell me what you thought. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Whatever. I don't know how to end videos.